and as long as I've ever felt the race car pull. And I don't know, I think I stepped off the throttle, truthfully, at 345 miles per hour because I didn't know where the finish line was. It was dark, and there was no way I was shutting it off early because you need everything you can get to the finish line if you're going to run that speed. And we come around the corner. I have no helmet, don't know what it ran. The guys aren't talking to me. So I'm totally in the dark about this thing. And I come around the corner, and the first thing I see is John Force's guys, and their heads were down. I'm like, whoa, this could be a good thing. I get out of the car, and I look at Jamie, and she's making these signs, 3, and she's going like this. I'm like, what did it run? What did it run? And she has it on film. It's probably the best film of the whole thing. And she said 3. I remember reading her lips, 341. And I threw my gloves up in the air, and it was like, I get goosebumps now. It's what an accomplishment. I give all the credit to my team and the work they put in, and Aaron and Todd coming together, you know, just 2 years into this program. What an epic run for the ages. I think it's one of the most significant runs in drag racing history. First funny car to break a barrier. First person to ever run 340 miles per hour. And truthfully, you know, at least for maybe everyone on the planet right now, it's probably the last time you're going to see a barrier broken, because 350 is going to be long after I'm gone. But it's just an incredible accomplishment. And one of the things that makes it so significant for me is how we did it when we did it. We did it at the Pro, All-Star Shootout race. It was just epic. Everybody was there. NHRA track, all NHRA timing equipment, and people chirped about that. We did something no one's ever done before. And here's the good news. We're coming back. We're coming back to Bradenton on February 6th to the 8th, and we want more, trust me. And when you give this PPG team, this Ford Mustang, all day Tuesday, all day Wednesday, all day Thursday, and all day Friday, there's a lot of shots at an unbelievable racetrack. If you're thinking about coming, come on down. It's one of the most exciting races of the year, and last year was one of the most exciting runs in the history of the sport. Can we do it again?
341 miles an hour.
Can they do it again? You see all the fans that are out here in the crowd getting ready for the third session of qualifying. Sunshine on the racetrack right now, but we will be under the lights. Very similar conditions again later on. We'll see if history can be repeated. Right now, though, let's get back down to the start line with Courtney.
All right, we'll take to this. We've got Antron Brown here down on the starting line. I want to have him hear it from y'all. Can I hear it if there's an Antron Brown fan in the house? You got a couple, Antron. I saw it. You can do better than that. Antron, we are going into the last 2 qualifiers of this deal. 8 cars are going to qualify for this. This is a tougher field than anything you deal with. You're sitting down there on the maybe section. What do you got?
Absolutely. Well, Friday night, that's when everybody cracked those licks off, and then a couple people made some good runs this morning when it got hot and tricky. But the sun's going down, the track's going to start getting better, so we're going to try to advance our spot, get up in that field. And tonight, when the lights go down, the fireworks get up, we're going to light those candles, and we're going to try to lay it down there and go for that #1 spot.
Now, as we talked about, do you sit up here and watch these Pro Stock cars? A lot of cars struggled. There's some things going on. Do you take any of that information back to what the Top Fuel cars do? Yeah, because you can always look at the track. The Pro Stock cars got a little bit different prep than we do. And the thing about it is they're normally aspirated. We can make our own power to go as fast as we go. So we're really, what dictates our ET is definitely a track condition. So the cooler the track gets, the firmer the rubber gets, the harder we can run. So right now, as that sun's tearing down below these grandstands going that way, it's going to be on the decline. So this run right here, we go out here and run a 70 flat. That'll be a really good run around that 70 flat zone. And then this evening, once that sun goes all the way down, it's going to be triple A throw down. You're no stranger to this track lately. Good luck, man.
Thank you, thank you.
No stranger to the racetrack. Still have to get to funny car first, though. Some of the things that Antron Brown says, though, he's able to put the sport into words that all of the fans can understand. That's something else that you're really good at as well, Mike. We were having this conversation earlier. How do you break down something that is so powerful and make it make sense to what somebody can understand?
Well, you do it long enough, you kind of get it figured out. And it all kind of starts for me Ken Vinny was a big help, my crew chief. He was the favorite crew chief I ever had, and he taught me so much. And, you know, one of the things he would do is he would take some of the most technical things out there and he would break it down into such a common sense way that anybody could understand it. And so I learned a lot from that. It really helped with the show. And because, you know, drag race, we have our own language. You know, when I first started, the producer would say, hey, English, Baxter, don't be talking drag race, you know. And so that would tell, you know, that was the clue to say, okay, I got to kind of rephrase this thing. And so what I started with was the basics of drag racing. Since 1950, when they were doing this, nothing's ever changed. Or one thing that hasn't changed is what this thing's all about. You make as much horsepower as you can. You apply that power into your clutching system onto the racetrack based on the tire you have, and accelerate the car as quick as it will go to the finish line. That's never changed. I mean, that philosophy is still the same. It's just what's changed is how you do it. How they, you know, you get the better parts, you get better tires, you get you know, everything. You know, they even try to slow the cars down, and look how fast they're going. I mean, you could unleash these things, and I mean, it would be an animal. It'd be amazing. So, you know, just based on that, you just try to talk about, you know, basic principles. You know, you're trying to apply the clutch, you know, at certain points as the clutch starts to slip, and give it more clutch. And when you're making 11,000 horsepower, you can do that. If you're not making 11,000 horsepower, if you tried to apply this clutch to a you know, a street car or whatever, I mean, it would just kill the motor. The motor would just stop. But 11,000 horsepower, it just goes, man, I like that. Just keep on coming, big boy. And you just keep applying that clutch down the racetrack. So, I mean, it's just basic, you know, mechanical principle that Ken Vinny was very good at. And I just try to do that same thing to educate and entertain the fans.
We're going to get to those nitro categories as soon as this track prep is complete. Fans are finding their seats. We're going to step away. We'll be back with Funny Car after this.
Speed, power, performance, and top-notch results on the turf and on the track. Skag Power Equipment is mowing down the competition. Built by hard-working Americans in state-of-the-art facilities, Skag machines are made to last. Don't get left behind. Visit your local Skag dealer to discover the Skag difference for yourself. Skag, simply the best.
How you choose to power up is up to you. But if you want the horizon chasing, rubber burning, dream building, adrenaline pumping power to do, Ford is your starting line. Gas, hybrid, or all electric, the power is yours.
Hey, it's Ron Capps. Now listen up. There's a lot of components that we put in these Nitro Funny cars that not only we think is the best, but absolutely has to have the performance, but it also has to have safety to keep drivers like myself in the Nitro Funny cars from getting hurt. The engine is right in front of my feet. So if there's a failure, it's going to hurt me as a driver. It's also going to hurt performance. That's why Guido, our team, count on the best. And it has to start with a crankshaft. And thankfully, we run Callie's crankshafts.
I'm Bob Tasker III, driver of the PPG Dark Horse nitro-powered Mustang Funny Car. PPG and I know a few things about great finishes. PPG's high-quality products help me with speed at our collision centers and, of course, on the racetrack. PPG is more than just a paint company. They deliver first-rate quality, service, and support. Tasker and PPG, partnering together, we finish first.
Stand tall, never be broken. Shake down, battle lines drawn. Deep down in the war zone. Hold on, never letting go. Stand up and be counted. We got nothing to lose. Too far to turn back now.
Welcome back to Bradenton Motorsports Park for the Skag Power Equipment Pro Superstar Shootout. Tractors making their way down the racetrack, nearing the completion of the track prep to get ready for the nitro categories. It will be Funny Car that is up first. Top Fuel will follow them. Here is a look at the current qualifying results. Austin Prock picking up where he left off, leading the way.
Boy, and his teammate Jack Beckman right there with him under the lights last night at 81 and 83. Daniel Wilkerson, nice pass with that 86, but look at the guys that are outside looking in, J.R. Todd and Bob Tasca. Now, the conditions are getting better. It's cooling off a little bit better, a little bit more, but they're going to be looking at going from A to B, because if they can get from A to B in that window that they have to be in, they're going to make enough power. They're going to get up into the field. They're not going to probably go to number one. I mean, you never throw anything out. You never know about Tasca. It's been done before, but normally you don't go for it like that. And basically, you just sit there and get her A to B and get in the show, and then come back tonight and throw everything at it.
Take a look at the track facts here. Bradenton Motorsports Park, originally opened in 1974, operates year-round. You talked about it earlier. There are so many weekends that are filled up here. All different types of cars making their way down this concrete surface. It's all the way to 1,000 foot.
Yeah, and this facility's been around forever. Like I said, I raced here. I won here 30 years ago. But I can tell you what, the track hasn't changed a lot. I mean, they've made it nicer, cleaned it up, but the basic formation of the track is pretty much the same as it was 30 years ago. But boy, driving in here, there's a lot more stuff than there was. It was out in the middle of nowhere back then, and now there's houses and businesses, and it's kind of crazy.
There's one stat that's up there on that track fact, the elevation, 59 feet above sea level. You know, when I first came to drag racing, having been around motorsports, I never understood why we talked about elevation until you broke it down for me. Why does it matter here at the drag strip?
Well, I mean, because the elevation means you're getting more air in it. So the atmospheric pressure pushes the air into the engine. So as you get at the higher altitude, they say, well, the air is thinner. Well, it's thinner. It's not necessarily thinner. It's made up the same amounts of hydrogen, oxygen, and whatnot. But what happens is you get higher you get, it's less pressure because you don't have that air pushing down as you do down to sea level, so you're not getting the air coming in as fast into the engines. That's why when you go up to Denver, the Pro Stock cars would slow down much more than the fuel cars because they were normally aspirated. So they were dependent on Mother Nature forcing that air in, and Mother Nature was up at that altitude, wasn't working as hard. But the fuel cars had superchargers, so we'd go up to the altitude. We would just spin the change of pulley, so you'd spin the supercharger faster. It would take more horsepower to spin the supercharger faster, but it would be a much bigger benefit by getting that more air into the engine, so the cars wouldn't slow down as much. So that's why we always look at the altitude, because that'll tell you, when you get closer to sea level, it's better. Back in the day, we raced at Lions Drag Strip. We called it the beach because it was right off the ocean. And you run them night sessions, and boy, you talk about good air. And back then, all the cars would fly at Lions. That's why we loved racing there.
Everybody loves coming down here. Kick off the season as well. Lots of fans in the stands, but look at this. We've got funny cars making their way toward the water box there. The right-hand lane, that is J.R. Todd, a new look here this weekend. If you haven't been with us through the previous qualifying sessions, you have missed some incredible runs. But in the case of J.R., they've not been able to go A to B. His new crew chief, Dickie Venables, coming on board this season. And talking to the team, we mentioned it last night, Dickie Venables is coming from tuning Matt Hagan, where he was there for over a decade. Matt Hagan is 110 pounds heavier than J.R. Todd. And doesn't make a whole lot of difference once the car is moving. The 11,000 horsepower will push him down the racetrack, but you've got to get that difference off of the line, and that seems to be the struggle.
Well, yeah, the static weight definitely makes it different off the starting line, and they've been having troubles with it spinning. And 100 pounds, that's a lot of weight, especially if it's just on the rear wheel. We talked about and I don't know if they did this, you know, if with Matt Hagan, they probably had the fire bottles up front by the fuel tank in front of the front tires, and what you could do to offset that, you won't need that weight up front with JR. You could put it behind there to you know, it's probably about 30 pounds. You can make 30, 40 pounds up of that 110 pounds. That's still a lot of weight. That's going to change the way the car works and reacts.
A lot of brain power over there. Dickie Venables coming on and joining John Oberhofer, who does remain up in the tuning lounge as well, but they're certainly going to get this figured out. Here's their third session in qualifying to try and do so. J.R. Todd currently below the bump spot.
Yeah, for Daniel, it's just kind of, let's see what this track will hold. You know, I think as with the oil down, it's cooled off a little bit. They probably went back and changed it somewhat. Let's try to step it up a little bit. But like I said, J.R. Todd and Bob Tasca, who's going to be right behind him, they're just going to want to go A to B. They know they have the power. If they can get that thing all the way down the track on 8 cylinders, it's going to run a number that can get them in the show.
There is Dickie Venables that we were talking about, right behind JR, trying to get him lined up. Here we go, Daniel Wilkerson.
He's number 3 qualifier after the second session. So this car is running well. It's been running, even in testing, it was running some 80. So it's showing a whole lot of promise. And this is the second car. They're already on their second car after he went into the sand. So they really, Tim Wilkerson really has a handle on that tune-up. J.R. Todd, Dickie Venables, John Oberhofer, obviously they don't have a handle on the tune-up. I think the tune-up might be all right, just the application with J.R. Todd. They're smart guys. They will get this thing figured out. They're just hoping they come sooner than later.
There's John Oberhofer that we've been talking about, back with this organization. But a 394 for him. For J.R. Todd, a 395, able to move himself up not only above that bump spot in 8th, but up with a little bit of a buffer into 7th.
Yep, I mean, and that's what they want to do. You know they need to. Watch the right side of the screen. You see, I didn't see a cylinder go out, but it looked like it started to maybe mix it up a little bit, and that car moved over towards the wall. I think Daniel kept it off. If he hit the wall before the finish line, it would have been a disqualification, but he's got a quicker run anyway, so it wouldn't have mattered. But you don't want to hit the wall no matter what. I think he kept it off it.
Tim Wilkerson, as he walks away, make his way back over to the pit area, wait for Daniel and the car to get over there, and they get to turn the car around and get it all ready to go out for the 4th and final qualifying session today. Daniel said after getting into the gravel that you mentioned yesterday before we got into the qualifying sessions, that when he did go down for Q1, he was a little scared. He backed off of it a little bit earlier. It would have actually run even better than the 86 that he did put up, but he knew that the tune-up was right. That scared him. When you get close to the wall like this, when you're behind the wheel, how aware, are you aware that you're that close to it? Can you even see the wall?
Oh yeah, you can definitely see the wall, but it happens so quick, you know. I mean, these cars are moving around, and you know, and they're not the easiest things to see out of, even in the daytime, you know. So you feel it almost as much as you see it, because you'll feel it first, but then you'll see the wall because all of a sudden it comes up pretty fast. But you know, he did a good job just not overreacting, just kind of straighten the thing out, you know, ride the wall, don't jerk it over, because sometimes that'll get you in more trouble, and brought her to a safe stop.
Saw Tommy Johnson Jr. down there. There's Daryl Glenn back at the starting line. Daryl Gwynn, sorry. You spent some time with him yesterday, didn't you?
Yeah, we got to talk a little bit. Been pretty busy, but my buddy, my boss, my old boss there, we had a lot of good times. I worked with him 9 seasons with him. That's the longest of anybody I ever drove for. I was with Roland for 7 seasons, 4 driving and 3 working. But me and Daryl, we've got the record.
Let's get back down to the top end. Check in with Tommy Johnson.
Yeah, we're looking here at Daniel Wilkinson. He thought he missed it, but I said, them headers are a little flat.
By that much.
Are you trying to make your dad mad? I mean, this is the backup car after yesterday. Come on, man.
Well, listen, you kind of caught me off guard because I didn't think I hit it. Yeah, whoops. I guess, I mean, this place is throwing a curveball at me. I guess I'm just a little behind, I'm a little rusty. So we'll straighten ourselves up. And sorry, John, I didn't mean to get your headers. We got more headers, though.
The consumables, the headers, that's not the problem. Another body, that's hard to come by after the incident they had earlier this weekend. But team will get to work, and they'll be able to get her all tuned up there. You can see the scrape along the side of that. He said just by that much.
Oh, you can see the end of the headers right there. They're flattened just a little bit, and yeah, he did scrape the wall. He didn't hit it, but he definitely scraped it pretty good with the headers. We used to call those training wheels on funny cars. You could get sideways and you hit the headers, and it would knock it back over. So back in the day. Yeah, there's what they look at on the other end. They're nice round tube on the other end. Daniel's on the left side of that car. They're not round tubes on the end of it.
I love that honesty, though, where he said, this thing, I didn't think I hit it, but this thing's kind of throwing me for a loop. There's a lot of curveballs being thrown at him. How do you get that out of your head?
I mean, just make more seat time. He'll be fine. He's a good driver. It's just, and that's nothing. I mean, scraping the wall of the headers. He technically, to me, he didn't even hit it. He just got close. The headers, stopped him from probably maybe going into it a little bit more, if anything. So to me, that's no harm, no foul.
And this is why funny car drivers are just a whole different breed of person, hitting the wall over 300 miles an hour, and you say, it's nothing.
Yeah, well, look at my crash videos and look at what that idiot said.
Daniel Wilkerson, was he behind the wheel also, taking the car back to the pits?
Yeah, like Roland told me, I hired you as a driver. You got to drive everything. We were in Australia. They drove on the wrong side of the road, and he usually drove the truck up to the starting line. It was funny. Every time he went to get in, he'd get on the wrong side. And he finally says, I hired you as a driver. You're going to drive the rest of the time.
Well, as he gets the car back to the pit area for the crew to get to work, we go back to the starting line. Next pair of funny cars getting ready. That is Bob Tasca. He will be up against Jack Beckman in the other lane in this third session of qualifying. You see Aaron Brooks there going underneath the body. He's one of the crew chiefs. Todd Okahara is a duo over there making all of those tuning calls. Same duo that tuned him to that 341 mile an hour pass last season.
Yeah, well, it's a different story right now. Going to try to do the same thing that J.R. Todd did, just go from A to B. And, once again, they've got the power. If they go down track with no smoke and all 8 cylinders, it's going to run good enough to get in, even, backing it down probably a pretty good amount to get down the racetrack. But we'll see how that plays out. I think they'll be okay based on what I saw with JR. Don't want to jinx them, but that's a good team, and if not, they still got one more shot.
Other side of the racetrack, Jack Beckman. Team dropping the body. Came off of the bench last year to take over this ride for John Force, and able to win enough races, put up enough points to be able to finish second in the championship point standings. It was a great run for him, and talking to him, he's really excited about this coming season and having a chance at the full thing.
Yeah, he did a great job last year. Just jumped in that seat like it was, like it was nothing. And we talking, they always say, it's like riding a bicycle. And I can tell the times I've sat out. When I got back in the car, it was like riding a bike. I mean, as far as reacting to everything it did, it was just automatic. The only thing that was different, and me and Jack talked about, he knows. Processing the information. Like if it makes a move, you got to react. You're right on it. But if it's going down the track and say all of a sudden you start hearing the motor come up, and you start to think, okay, is it spinning the tires or is it slipping the clutch? And sometimes when you're on top of it, you react right. You got enough runs that you know exactly what it's doing and you can make the decision. But it takes about a half a dozen runs for me anyway. Some may be back, maybe less, to basically catch up with the car going down the racetrack. But reaction time and all that stuff, you don't lose any of that.
Great shots at the starting line from that jib camera. Both of the cars, both of the teams stepped away. Everybody is ready to go. for Jack Beckman. Sunshine on the track.
Yep, and Bob Taskett, more importantly, he jumps up in that number 7 spot, moves J.R. Todd to the bump spot with that 395. He just ran in front of him. So both of those cars for now are in the show, and they still have one more session. They will definitely, guarantee you, bet the bank on it. They're going to hop it up for that final session and try to improve on that run.
There's that jib camera I was talking about. Other end of that boom is Jarrett, the operator, out there all day getting those starting line shots for all of the fans.
You know, I know that thing's weighted so he can move it around, but that's still got to be a job doing. You know, that's got to be a workout doing that all day.
I think they call that a job of passion. He wants to be out there. It's a lot of work, but it is certainly worth it. See the tower, the right side of the building, right behind that, the dish that's up there. There's Mike's hand. See him waving? That's where we are, getting to watch from right behind the starting line. Next pair of cars up there, Chad Green, Dave Richards. Cars making it down the racetrack. This becomes an important qualifying session for both of these drivers, as they were 7 and 8 coming in, but Bob Taskett, J.R. Todd both bumping their way into the field. Now these two have to duplicate.
Yeah, and Chad Green definitely, and Dave Richards. I mean, if he makes a good run, I mean, there's a possibility that both these guys could bump into the field. So J.R. and Taskett aren't out of the woods yet. So, but the strategy is, like you said. I mean, knowing you have one more qualifying session, it makes it a lot easier to say, let's back this thing down as much as they did.
Dave Richards in the right-hand lane. Waiting on the burnout, Chad Green. Not a long burnout.
Well, like we said, when you see the conditions, track, even though it's cooling off, it's still relatively warm on the track temperature, I'm sure, so they shorten that burnout, try to keep the temperature down on that tire to get more grip. Chad Green, I mean, he's done a good job. Dave Richards also. Chad finished 9th in the points last year. I was looking that up, and that's a pretty good deal there. Yeah. Got one national event win, so he's the real deal.
Dave Richards ran his full season last year for the first time in his career. Came from being a crew member. Also, first license in Super Comp. Decided, nope, I'm going to go nitro funny car racing. Been out here trying to do it full time ever since, and he's been able to finally put this program together and just continue to get all these laps.
Yeah, but you know, the king of it all was Del Worsham. He went from a BMX bicycle to a fuel burning funny car at 19 and did it well. Trouble for Richards, but Chad Green was able to take it down the track. Look at that, a nice 392 at 319 miles per hour.
Putting
that
himself
puts him
up
in
into
eighth.
the 8th.
Yep, that would have bumped out Taskett, I think, or was it JR?
JR now sitting
yeah,
in
look at
9th.
that. Wow, Taskett's 7th, stayed in 7th with his 392 with a 3. Chad with a 392 with an 8, and JR Todd is outside looking in.
Bob Taskett had a little bit of a buffer, sitting in 7th right now. He's at the top end with TJ.
Bob Taskett, I know you wanted to run a little better than that, but it got you in the show, and then you looked like you might have went left a little bit.
Yeah, I think we needed to call AAA at about half track. I thought it put a hole out. It felt like it was pulling me to the center. I probably shut it off a little bit early, but come to find out, the left rear tire is flat. So we probably got lucky on that run. We wanted to go down the racetrack. We've been having some issues with clutches, just working on new season stuff, but tonight we're going to put it back to the go fast mode and see if we can do something special.
Put it back to the go fast mode. That means they're going to go for it tonight. But when you've had the issues that they've been working through, how difficult is that, Mike?
Well, you know, he's talking about clutches, and usually that's the clutch disc. You get a different batch of clutch discs, and usually they hardly ever work the same as the previous one. So sometimes you got to make those adjustments, and you got to find out where the limit is on the tune-up on those. So, That's tough. I mean, and that's one of the key parts for these fuel funny car guys and top fuel drag strip guys that to run consistent is to have that good clutch program. And they spend a lot of money because they try to buy if they get a batch that's good, they try to buy as many of them they can out of that batch because the consistency has gotten a lot better in the way they manufacture them, but it's still not perfect.
See the next two funny cars. We have Matt Hagan in the left-hand lane. On the right-hand side of your screen, there's a look at Matt Hagan's car on the other side of the racetrack. Ron Capps. Ron Capps came out here last year building a program from the ground up. Was not able to qualify for this event.
Yeah, and that's a bit of a surprise. You know, Ron Capps and I were among a lot of us, like 350 people were at Roland Leong's service. We both drove for him. I mean, Roland was famous for having a whole lot of drivers, and me and Ron were just two of those. And Jack Bevan was actually emceeing the thing, and he talked about the story where Roland Leong, out of all those drivers he had, Ron Capps said it was the best driver he ever had. Ron Capps. But in my thing, I said, well, you know, he is about perfect. I don't know if I want to kiss him or kick his ass. He's so perfect. But yeah, Ron Capps is one of the best drivers out there I've seen. Just does everything right, you know, all the time. Matt Hagan, though, I mean, he's definitely no slouch. He just, ever since he burst on the scene after driving Pro Mod, stepping in that funny car, he's just been winning.
Two of the drivers who have been able to make a career out of being out here at the drag strip. For Matt Hagan, 388.
Nice pass.
Heat on the racetrack. Heat on the racetrack. There's no improvement in that run, but nice hot racetrack. You know you're going to run on it again tomorrow, and to be able to go an 88, it's pretty good.
Yep, that's going to be good for information during elimination. So, like we said, you know, they'll come back and they're going to step on it in the final session and see if they can go for broke and get that #1 spot. But they don't have anything to lose at this point.
Except lane choice.
Yeah, well, yeah. Ron Capps, though, that's another story. You know, smoking the tires is a little bit of a surprise. You know, that's going to keep him in the bottom half. You know, as you talk about lane choice, it doesn't matter with the chip draw. But you still want to go out there and make a good run to feel comfortable about your chances for tomorrow.
Wait as the cars are being pushed off of the racetrack, get around that turn. Down at the top end. Good shot of the parachute. We were talking about the parachutes earlier, and even the evolution of those over the last couple of years, being Kevlar now, no longer nylon, and being able to shorten up the tether straps to the back of the car, make the hole a little bit bigger so they don't wear and tear quite as much. These teams, they don't stop at anything. Everything is a constant development.
Well, yeah, and they have to as the speeds go up. And some drivers drive into the parachute, which means as they're getting toward the finish line, they'll actually pull the parachute before they get to the finish line, because by the time that they deploy, you're already past it. And like old-time funny car drivers, we did that a lot because they were always on fire, so you wanted to get on those chutes, get that initial speed scrubbed off, and that can be hard on the parachutes, and they made adjustments for that also.
Is Austin Prock, reigning funny car champion, defending event winner here at the Skag Power Equipment Pro Shootout. Currently sitting in the #1 qualifying position, but it looks like he's going to be running on a single. Bobby Bodie was supposed to be in the other lane, and he and Dale Worsham-led team have not made the call to the starting line.
Well, I'm sure they decided to set that out. You know, they made a run. They feel they got them in the show, and they probably can't improve on it. That 391, that was a nice pass in the heat. So they'll look at it. They may even sit out the final session because you know Dell's on a budget, his own team, and you know, if they get bumped out, they'll come in and run the final session. But it's not going to happen. I mean, they're in the show, I think, or at least for this session they'll be in. We'll see what happens in the final one. And if nothing else, they'll roll it up there. But you know, because back in the day you could kind of wait back, but you know, you're assigned your run position. There you go.
86 for Austin Prock. Jimmy Prock calling the shots. Pushed the limit earlier today, running that 88. Temperature's gone up even more, and he's able to drop it even lower.
Low ET of the session, and that's a common theme with that car.
Let's get down to Tommy Johnson Jr. at the top end.
Matt Hagan, a 388, nice looking run, but you get mad at that little kid out there? He just keeps bettering you all the time.
Oh man, he's doing a good job. You know, him and his dad, they're a tough combo to beat out there. But we got a new crew chief with Mike Knudsen, and these guys are doing nothing short of amazing things out here. We've just had a phenomenal test session. You know, you roll in here and don't know what to expect, but this Dodge Hellcat's hauling ass, and we're going to drink some American Rebel beer later on. But all in all, man, we're just really happy with the results and the car going on the racetrack.
We're a full bottle.
He mentions that new crew chief, Mike Knudsen. We talked about it earlier, but if you're just now tuning in for Matt Hagan, Mike Knudsen used to be the assistant crew chief to Dickie Venables, now getting the opportunity to step up and call the shots, and he's got a whole bunch of experience underneath Dickie Venables, and you've seen it over the course of the last couple of days. He was ready for this assignment.
Yeah, absolutely, Matt. Matt was absolutely right. They've had a fantastic test session, going down the track, running real competitive numbers pretty much every time they come to the starting line, and that's what you want to see coming out of your first test session.
Let's get back down to the top end before we switch gears over to Top Fuel Dragster.
Austin, the 386, low for the round. This car just keeps running flawless all weekend.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. My dad, Thomas, and Zoll are just doing an outstanding job. This team's also doing a great job too. We got 4 positions, and they're all doing a great job. So really for them, I'm having a blast driving this thing, and I can't wait for tonight. The fans are about to get an amazing show.
An amazing show indeed. They've already been getting one here in this third session of qualifying, but again, there is still one more session to go after this. But get down to Top Fuel Dragster. Sean Langdon will be going out on a single here. First dragster to get down to the starting line. Mike, didn't have to do any track prep because we're staying here with Nitro. Straight into it. He just watched the funny car, was able to run. What changes to the teammate?
Well, I mean, they probably didn't make any changes because they just went out there and looked at the track, and the track prep, everybody decided that, hey, it looks good, let's go out there and make the run. So, you know, the track conditions are a little bit better as it's cooled off somewhat, and they're going to see what they can throw at it.
.380.
And something happened before the finish line. The car, you heard the car when it started, the clutch coming in, which is, you know, not unique on a single. You can really hear that clutch application just pull the engine down. But boy, it sounded like it really pulled the engine down a lot and for a little bit longer time. I don't know if that contributed to whatever happened, because the engine just pretty much quit down there before he got the lights, or maybe he felt it and shut it off. So needless to say, they'll go back and look at that and make all the necessary repairs and come back for the big run.
Next pair of cars will be Tony Stewart, Brittany Force. These two also ran side by side under the lights last night in that first qualifying session. It's Brittany Force, right-hand side of the racetrack, right there, center of your screen with the Monster Energy colors.
Well, Brittany's solidly in the program in the number 2 position with that 367, 334 last night. Tony Stewart's on the bump spot, so he's going to definitely want to try to step up in this session just to get a little bit more of a cushion going into that final session, so he has the ability to go and stand on. If he can't get it, you know, if he stays on that number 8 spot, Doug Foley hasn't run yet. He's the only one that can bump him out of the top 8, but he still needs to go out there and improve on what he's had so far, which I believe is a 373. Yeah, 373.8. So that's the bump spot. He's going to try to get into, I mean, he would love to have a high 360.
through the test sessions and obviously now through qualifying. It hasn't been the smoothest of first weekends of the year for Tony Stewart and that whole team. Neil Strasbaugh is the crew chief. And one of the things that Tony said was, you know, when we get into eliminations, I'd love it if we just had to pedal it all the time, you know, one lane to the next, just because he feels like that's where he is able to contribute to this program. But with 11,000 horsepower, it comes down to the crew chief, it comes down to the tune-up, and they're still working through this combination and trying to go A to B more consistently.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to be able to pedal a car well, but not very often are you going to have two cars smoke the tires. These guys are all pretty good at doing this, but it does happen, and Tony would be very good at it because you got to be really quick to catch it to really help out to get the car to recover, and I guarantee you Tony Stewart's as good as they come at that.
To a 378, 330 miles an hour. But for Tony Stewart, still not the run that they need.
No, smoked the tires just shortly after the 330-foot mark, and that's right where you have that clutch application that we heard with Sean Langdon when it started pulling the motor down. Obviously, that thing just kind of pulled the motor a little bit too much, and it struck the tires loose. They'll have to go back and try to work on that. Brittany, I don't think Grubby will be too happy with that. I think he probably was trying to do a little bit more than a 378, but it went A to B, and you know, when it gets hot, that could be a pretty good, decent run. But I guarantee they were looking for a little more than that.
Grubby's David Grubnick. You're talking about the crew chief. He's always looking for a little bit more. See the next pair back behind the water box. It will be Doug Coletta in the left-hand lane, right side of your screen. Antron Brown, the number 1, will be on the other side of the racetrack. Antron's done a great job through some of the features we've been watching here throughout the day of explaining the sport of drag racing, and now as a team owner, the number 1 on the side of the car. He's a champion, gets to carry that number 1 all the way through this season. But for him, this is his team. This is his responsibility, making sure that everything is in place for these guys to be able to come out here and do this every race weekend.
Yeah, we were talking about the pressure of being a car owner and everything, trying to remember everything. And I was telling my issues about being old and trying to deal with that memory issue, and we were kind of comparing notes. But, you know, he's got Brian Karate as a crew chief. I talked with Brian, and, you know, last year he says, you know, a lot of people said we don't run the big numbers. You're going to have to run the big numbers to win everything. And he takes the approach, let's go out there and make good runs. Let's get down the track. You know, let's not make those mistakes. And when we, you know, every once in a while you get a chance to run the big number, we'll throw it out and see what'll happen. But he believes in the consistency of running well and just wearing your competition out. And how can you argue with it? He won the championship last year.
Another thing he believes in is just getting behind the wheel and making laps, and no matter what it is, any opportunity that he gets, he genuinely just loves this sport. In fact, if you know the fans that are sitting out here at Bradenton Motorsports Park, Antron was out here in January. He was driving a Pro Mod car for one of his good friends. He'll just get behind the wheel and take any opportunity that he can get to come out here and put on a show.
And he can drive anything. And there's Brian checking everything out before he fires up the car. And you know, like I said, he'll have a tune-up. He's going to definitely try to improve on what he's run at this point, that 373.8. That's tied what Tony Stewart ran, but based on the mile per hour, Antron with a faster mile per hour, he got the position of 7 versus Tony getting the number 8 by virtue of a 331.85 to a 326 mile per hour run on Tony Stewart's 373. That's just how it works. And I don't think it's going to matter when it's all said and done, especially after that last session. I think everything's going to get shaken up anyway. And right now, Antron wants to shake it up a little bit by moving up. And like I said, that if they could run that high 360 run, I think that's kind of what I tuned for. Whether the track would hold it, I don't know. But I'd try to find out. But Brian Karate's a lot smarter than I am.
Burnout for both of these teams. Doug Coletta the right-hand side of your screen. Still the #1 qualifier. If you're the #1 qualifier at this point, you know you're going to have the fourth and final session later on tonight. How hard do you push it?
You're racing track. You're trying to get information for race day. So, you know, they're not going to push it to the max, I don't think. I think they're going to try to run as hard as what they think the track will hold. Just get a representative run to get that information for tomorrow, and then they will come back and step on it tonight, guaranteed.
Antron Brown crossing the center line.
Yeah, tire go down.
Off.
Yeah, wow. Look at Antron. Had the chutes out. The wing didn't come off. That's always critical when you have a tire go out. Got the thing stopped.
Did a great job of not going any further over. Doug Coletta right there alongside of him.
Yeah, it'll get your attention when you have a tire go out. I had one in the lights, and the key thing, like I said, as long as the wing stays intact, you can drive it. If somehow the rubber gets around, pulls that wing down, you're just along for the ride. So I would imagine something got into that tire to cause it to go down. I mean, Goodyear's done a great job with the tire, the new construction that they designed years ago. And they're constantly always working with it. More likely, take another look at left side of your screen. He's down there going, and then boom, right when he lifts off the throttle. And remember, when you lift off the throttle, it puts a lot of load on those tires, and especially on that right rear. But usually there's got to be something going wrong with it leading up to that, like whether there's a puncture or something that ran over, and then when you unload that thing, when you let off the gas, it just blows that tire out. So, but luckily, nobody. Not a whole lot of damage. Well, I say not a whole lot of damage. Usually when those tires blow out like that, it does a lot of damage to the rear of the chassis, and a lot of times you're going to have to bring out another car.
Yeah, they're going to have to take a good look at this one once they're able to get it back to the pit area. You see Antron there with the NHRA Safety Safari taking a good look at it as they try to get it up on the rollers to try and get it back off of the racetrack. We saw the fans grabbing the pieces of that Goodyear tire. We don't see a lot of tire explosions, and you can see the distance between the wall of the racetrack to the fence that is the barrier for the fans that are here on site. Thankfully, most of those pieces look to be like in the grass, but you can see some of these kids getting to take home a little bit of a memory with them. Take a look at it in slow motion.
Left side of your screen, everything looks good there, nice and straight. And then you're going to see right as he gets to the finish line, lifts off that throttle, goes right down. It wasn't a big, I mean, I've seen bigger explosions from a tire, so that's a good thing. I mean, the best thing is, like I said, the wing stayed intact, the chutes were out. That settles the car down, and he was able to stop. Yeah, you see pieces of the wing off the top, it got that, but luckily it didn't just move, rip the wing off. That's when you're basically along for right. He had to do some driving, no doubt, and he did a good job of that, keeping it out of Doug's car, and you see a part of the carcass there, and you say the kids went and got that. I guarantee that tire is pretty warm. You go try to pick that thing up.
Goodyear will definitely want to go and get a look at it as well. They'll learn from this as well and see what they can learn from it. See if they can figure out what it is that happened. There's Brian Karate taking his bike down the racetrack, looking around.
Yeah,
see what he can gather.
Yeah, Goodyear will take that and analyze it. When we blew ours out, we didn't know why. So they went and took and analyzed it, and they came back and they said, "Did you guys have a fire in this thing during the weekend?" And they didn't, and sure enough, we didn't say anything. We had a fire, I think, 2 runs before, or no, during qualifying, we went to semi. So it was probably 4 or 5 runs, and they showed it, and it just, you could see where it had the burn marks in the tire, and it just, that was just enough for after 3 or 4 runs after that fire. It wasn't a big fire, but it was enough to compromise the integrity of that tire and cause it to blow out. So, you know, they'll examine that. You know, it might be, they'll be able to find out if it was just a piece that came in and punctured it, and just the load on when he lifted it just was enough to let the tire go. And I can tell you, when we blew that tire out in Topeka, I mean, it destroyed the back of the chassis. I mean, just destroyed it. I mean, obviously we put a new back half on it and we still could run the car, but it was amazing how much damage it did. But we were driving down here, me and my wife Sandy, and we're behind a big rig, and it blew a tire on that. And I mean, the noise was boom, and here comes it flying at us. Luckily, we're laying over, and and there wasn't nobody over, and I kind of just had to make a little bit of a move. But man, when those tires go, it's pretty loud. Get your attention.
On the way down here?
On the way down here, yeah.
Wow.
Drove from Pennsylvania. We're down by Don Garlis' museum in Ocala. We were just driving down 75, and all of a sudden this truck, boom! I'm like, what was that? And all of a sudden you see the tire flying.
Now been able to get Antron around the corner. I'm sure he will have a great explanation of what it was like from his seat and just the awareness. You know, we watched it in slow-mo and how he had to control it and drive it, keep it away from Doug Coletta as much as possible, but we were watching it in real time.
Yeah, I'd bet money they're gonna have to get the other car out. You know, their spare. Very seldom do you not do a pretty good amount of damage to the back of that chassis.
Just right there in that one shot, I counted 3 Goodyear engineers. They're already down there asking questions.
Yep, and you can see the headers go down as soon as it did. It unloaded the chassis onto that right rear wheel, and the tire just let go.
Let's get down to TJ.
Antron Brown, I hate for this to be our first interview, but that was a wild ride. It's glad to see you're okay, but it looks minimal damage, but it's still going to be tough on it.
Yeah, it's tough on it, TJ. I mean, we're out here testing, we're having a good time in this pro shootout, but the hard part's a brand new car. But the good thing is that a PBRC builds a great race car, and all of our safety features and everything else. I felt it try to come up off the ground. I was like, oh, I just lost the tire. And once I felt the back end dip down, and the good thing is that the wind still stayed intact, so it gave me some downforce, and got her stop. I mean, my biggest concern was I felt a pop. I was like, don't go in Doug's lane. Don't go in Doug's lane, because if you lose control of it, any crazy things happen. But we're safe and sound, so everything's all right. So we'll go back, assess the situation, see what was going on, and we'll go from there. The good thing is that walked away and everything's fine. So that's the good part.
Yeah, I tell you what, the Goodyear guys were right on. As soon as they saw that, they were on the monitor, and they're on top of it. They'll figure out what's going on.
See the Goodyear team down there at the top end with Antron's guys.
Yep, they'll be all over it, because they really stay on top of that, and they've done a good job. I mean, think about that. I mean, you have a tire, and we take it for granted. You're taking something that makes 11,000 horsepower, and you're building a tire. Not only does it go 340 miles per hour, which is probably hard enough, but you build a tire that can accelerate that car, get enough traction to get up to that speed in just, you know, under 3.7 seconds. The engineering it takes to build that tire is monumental, and they do a good job, and we have a tendency to take it for granted.
Oh, it's easy to take that for granted, for sure. You know, we spend all of this time talking about the power that these cars make, and the crews that are able to build it to make that power, and just the brain power to apply everything that these crew chiefs knows. But the only part of the car that touches the ground is that Goodyear tire.
That's when they come apart when they go
I
apart.
mean, it's an engineering marvel. I'll tell you, just
you just don't know where it started.
to build a tire that can do that, to me is as amazing, if not more so, than the fact that you can make 11,000 horsepower on an internal combustion engine.
Looking back to the pits. Everybody will dive deeper. Ryan Karate, don't usually see him down at the top end. He was able to make his way down there as well. Track crew out on the racing surface now, making sure there's nothing left behind before we send any more cars down for this third session of qualifying. Well, all of this is getting cleaned up. We do still have more Top Fuel dragsters to run. 2 more pair will be ready. But for right now, we're going to step away, take a break, We'll be back after this. Qualifying, once they're able to get out there, it'll be Doug Foley and Sean Reed, followed by Josh Hart and Justin Ashley. Fans here have been able to see just a little bit of everything today, Mike. Let's take a look back at a replay of this run that we just saw. This is in real speed. See what happened to Antron Brown. You heard Antron give that account to TJ at the top end. The whole time he's thinking, don't go over, don't go over, don't go over. He didn't want to get any closer to Doug Coletta that was in the other lane. What are your thoughts on how quickly all of that unfolds?
Well, I mean, it's exactly what he thought, because when mine went out, I was alongside Kenny Bernstein. It was in the semifinals, and Kenny Bernstein had won by, you know, probably almost 3/4 of a car length. And so when it did go, it did make that move to the left. And I thought, oh no, I don't want to, I don't want to take Kenny out. And luckily it didn't. We were able to straighten it out and no problems. And you do think about that, I've had a number of incidents, and 2 of them I can remember because I saw the car, the one in Orange County when it blew the engine out. I was alongside Al Zagrini, and I knew he was ahead when the thing blew up, and I was worried about getting into him. Actually steered over towards the wall, and then I couldn't see where I was going because the visor was all oiled because the engine blew completely out of the chassis, and I didn't even know that because I couldn't see. And I got into the wall. Then it was a guardrail, wasn't really a wall. And I drove it off of that, and I was trying to get it stopped, and it was bouncing, and it was bouncing pretty good. When you look at the replay, but it didn't feel like it was out of control, and all of a sudden it flipped. And I thought I just went off the track and hit something. I didn't know the engine just kind of fell off to the side, hooked the right front, and rolled it. So you think of a lot of things when you go through those, but Antron's exactly right. You don't want to get into the other driver if you don't have to. And you saw what he did. I mean, did a good job because, you can't drive it first. It's going to make that move. And then, you don't want to overcorrect. You just kind of straighten that thing out. catch it as it makes that move, and he did a great job to keep it away from Doug.
He certainly did, and as all of this continues, the cleanup continues out on the racetrack, let's take a look back at Top Fuel eliminations from last season.
All right, here we go.
Already run around a Pro Stock. This is where we start eliminating the Nitro drivers.
Racing for big money in the Don Schumacher Trophy. Antron gets away first. He has problems. Here comes Schumacher to the end with a 4.116, 275.730. Leah Pruitt, Mike Salinas. Here we go. Salinas gets away first. They both have problems down the strip, and at the lights, it's going to be Leah moving on with a 3.972, 286.530. She takes the win. She moves on to the next round.
Pair number 3.
Deshaun Langdon, Clay Milliken. Langdon gets away first, but he's got to shut it down, and Clay Milliken marches on with a 3.792, 332.670. Not only is he fast and quick, he's been consistent.
All right.
The champ, Doug Coletta, that Applied Innovation machine.
And Justin
Ashley got away quicker. He's going to have some issues, and Coletta's going to get to the lights first with a 4.163 at 240 miles an hour. Leah Pruitt on the right, Doug Coletta on the left. Who's going on for the money round? Coletta quicker off the line. Here we go. Dancing around at the far end. It's going to be Coletta. He puts the whole run together with a 3.709, 330.63 miles an hour.
Yeah, and neither one of them were perfect runs.
On the right side of your screen, Clay Milliken. On the left side, Tony Schumacher. Here we go. Who's going to the finals? Good start by Milliken. And he's going for $250,000 with a 3.73 at 333.91 miles an hour.
He qualified number 1.
Qualified number 1.
He's already got $10,000.
Looking to go for $250,000 here. Milliken and Coletta, the final pair of the weekend. Coletta's away first. Who's going to get to the lights? It's going to be Doug Coletta as Clay shuts off. Doug Coletta takes home $250,000, 3.70, 325.14 miles an hour.
And it's a mob on the starting line. Wow, the Coletta team knows how to party in a winner's circle. Wow.
What a day.
Just saw 620.
There's Connie Coletta right there, the legend himself.
You know what 250,000 represents to Connie Coletta? Interest for the day.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah. $625,000 given away to the winners in Top Fuel, Funny Car, and Pro Stock.
And we're going to get to do that all again tomorrow for the second edition of the SCAG Power Equipment Pro Superstar Shootout. But before we can get there, we still need to get this field set. We have 2 pair left of Top Fuel Dragster. Then we have a whole nother qualifying session left this evening in all of the pro categories, Pro Stock, Funny Car, and Top Fuel. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back after this.
Speed, power, performance, and top-notch results on the turf and on the track. SCAG Power Equipment is mowing down the competition. Built by hard-working Americans in state-of-the-art facilities, SCAG machines are made to last. Don't get left behind. Visit your local SCAG dealer to discover the SCAG difference for yourself. SCAG, simply the best.
I'm Joe Cargo, and I am a flight follower for Coletta Air. The schedule at Coletta Air, we work 4 days on and 4 days off currently. It allows me to maintain work-life balance. That allows for time off outside of, just constantly being at work and being able to decompress. That's part of the reason I'm here, and it's definitely a major perk.
We drive performance. We drive passion. a background in drag racing, and a future in all forms of motorsports. Because success in one sport isn't enough. Pushing ourselves to be the best. Climbing every mountain. Topping every peak. Until you see Fuel Tech everywhere.
Welcome to Bernie's Speed Shop. Let's go for a ride. If you're looking for a hassle-free way to sell your car, bring it to Bernie's. We have an easy consignment process, and before you know it, you're going to be walking away check in hand. We inspect every car that we sell, so you can rest assured that only the best cars are in our showroom. So give us a call or check out our website and get your wheels running down the road today.
Welcome back to Bradenton Motorsports Park. Still waiting to get the track all cleaned up. We can continue this third session of qualifying for Top Fuel. But before we get there, let's get back down to the starting line with Courtney Enders.
What's up, Bradenton Motorsports Park and FloRacing? We're back here on the starting line, and I wrangled up another one of the stars of the SCAG Power Equipment Pro Superstar Shootout, Aaron Stanfield. We just had a little talk off screen here, and I wanted to make sure it was okay, but you're a real honest guy. 2025 debut, you had an awesome 2024. That wasn't what you wanted, and you just said in your own words, this is not the start you wanted.
Yeah, we had a really good 2024, and we're struggling a little bit this weekend, but you know, we got a few changes. We got some different fuel and tricky track conditions, but you know, I got all the faith in my guys, and we're going to get this thing turned around and put on a good show.
Now, an event like this where you come in, obviously this is an incredible event, big money, big crowd, it matters, but you have a lot of different priorities that are going on here too, so you're preparing for what is about to be a long season. As we're coming in to the last qualifying session here, what's your motive? What's your MO? What are you guys going to go out here and do as it gets dark?
The track's cooling off here, so I think right here we need to go try to make the best lap so far for us this weekend, and get ourselves set up good for race day, and go do that chip draw and have some fun, and get ready for race day.
I was just about to say that. Like, as long as you're in the show, you're in the show here. Lane choice may be a thing tomorrow, but chip draw makes this thing exciting. So a little less stress?
Yeah, I think lane choice is definitely going to be important tomorrow. It seems like we've struggled a little bit in the right lane. So, and I could see middle of the day being similar conditions to what we had today in the middle of the day. So, yeah, I think this is going to be an important run here to make a good run so we can have some lane choice for tomorrow.
All right, well, good luck. Yeah, let's hear it for Aaron Stanfield.
Great to be able to hear from some of the drivers down there at the starting line. Pro Stock, of course, already wrapped up their third session of qualifying, so Aaron's job now to get ready for the fourth and final attempt. And you heard it there, Mike. He's wanting to improve. He's wanting to pick up the pace a little bit, and certainly we're expecting the conditions to allow for it.
Without a doubt, they will be going for it. The track will be tight. I mean, it looks pretty good right now, to be honest with you. It's I think it could hold if you hit it right, maybe a high 360. 370 flat, I mean, they're getting close to that. So, but like I said, they're not worried about this session. It was kind of go A to B, get the information for eliminations tomorrow, and then come back and go for it tonight. But we also talked about that strategy. You heard Aaron talking about lane choice, and we talked about like in the fuel cars and maybe Pro Stock too. If the teams that have the capability to get that #1 spot, they might be going for that because, if you get #1 spot, no matter who you draw on the chip, you will have lane choice in the first round. And as we've seen from all the qualifying sessions up to this point, it does matter depending on what time of day it is and what is happening on the starting line. We see the starting line in the right-hand lane for starter Pro Stock. It just doesn't look good, but then it comes in pretty good by the end of the session pretty quickly. So it's going to be interesting, that strategy. Like I said, I don't know if I'm a fan of it. I want to see how it plays out, but it is definitely different. It's unique.
If you're just now joining us, we've been up since 10 o'clock this morning, bringing all the on-track action to you here. But if you haven't been here with us and you're wondering, what is this chip draw? What is it that they're talking about? Well, different format of an event here this weekend. 8 cars in Top Fuel, 8 cars in Funny Car, full 16-car field in the Pro Stock ranks. But they're going to go out, they're going to complete these 4 qualifying sessions. Then afterwards, this evening, when the sessions are all complete, the drivers will all go up right behind the starting line, and they're going to literally pull somebody's name out of a hat. Doesn't matter where you qualified, that's who they're going to face in round 1. As a driver, Mike, you do all the work. The team puts in all of the work. You put down the best numbers that you can, and then you're pulling your fate out of out of the bucket at the start line.
You know, it's kind of always luck of the draw. You know, when it comes to drag racing, you can have a good car and not make it past second round. I'll give you, for instance, in Topeka, I don't remember what year it was, but they had horrible weather there. And we ended up coming back twice. And the second time, I think it was almost in October, so it was pretty cool. And they said, we're going to get this race done no matter what. And it was the weather leading up to it, the day of was bad. So we ran late at night. So the track was really, really cold. So my crew chief, Kim Vinny, says, hey, just go out there and grab the brake at 100 feet or wherever it was and see if we can get down the racetrack. And sure enough, first round it goes out there and it runs a 465 the quarter mile, which was the only car that went down the track. Probably, I don't know if anybody even else went in the 4-second range because it was that hard to get down it. So we said, okay, second round, we're just going to do the same thing. Go out there and try to run the same number, grab the brake again, and we run Doug Coletta, and we go down and runs a 467, and Doug runs a 465. And it's the only run all day that could have beat that run, you know, and that comes to luck of the draw. So you're going to go at no matter who gets picked, you're going to look at the competition and you're going to come up with a plan on what you think it's going to take to beat them and go out and try to execute the run.
It's just as simple as that. But it is a fun format, something different. Kick off this season of drag racing for all of these teams, and it's going to be the best of the best. 3 rounds of elimination tomorrow in Top Fuel and Funny Car. Of course, 4 will unfold in Pro Stock. Also some sportsman racing that will be happening. We have some exhibition runs. Oh, and by the way, the Top Fuel Dragster, the Funny Cars don't qualify for that 8-car field. They're going to stick around tomorrow and go head-to-head. Yes, Top Fuel in one lane, Funny Car in the other.
Hang on.
So earlier this weekend, earlier today, we saw Daryl Gwynn back behind the starting line. But you were able, I'd mentioned, you're able to sit down with him. Here's a look at that conversation.
So while I was strolling through the pits, I saw this DG on this, and so I thought I would get a really good interview. I thought I was going to be interviewing Don Garlitz, and look who I got, Daryl Gwynn. Daryl Gwynn, my boss for 9 years, probably the best 9 years I had, by the way. Don't tell him I said that. The fans want to know one thing. Who was the best driver, Mike Dunn or Daryl Gwynn?
Well, Mike Dunn was one hell of a race car driver, and I tell everybody that to this day. Mike Dunn did things behind the wheel that I couldn't do, and I did things behind the wheel that Mike couldn't do. So I'm going to say that we're pretty much equal, but I think we're both pretty damn good drivers. The older I get, the more I realize how good of a driver I was. You know, the older you get, the better you were. You know that, right?
It's like those fish, you know, they always get bigger on the Bass Pro Shop, you know, as the story gets older. But I'll say you were on the verge of superstardom. I'm not kissing up to you because you're not paying me anymore, so I don't have to. So that you know this is the truth. Daryl Gwynn was on the verge of being a superstar. One question: we raced for 9 years, and we had a lot of great moments. But do you have one particular in mind? Because I know I do.
Oh boy, when it comes to driving, I saw you go to Brainerd and the car was almost flipping over, and I got a picture of you holding the brakes and the rear disc are glowing red, and we saved the car and raced the next day. That's one of the only stories I can tell. Some of the other ones you can't really tell on camera. You did burn up Flat Stanley one time. We put a Flat Stanley, my friend brought a Flat Stanley to the race, and we put it inside the cockpit, and we had a bad fire, and he burned Flat Stanley's legs off.
Yeah, and they're only worried about Flat Stanley. They weren't worried about the driver, to remind you. But real quick, my favorite memory was winning from the number 16 spot when you were tuning 93 the first year. Daryl, it's great seeing you. Always pleasure. He's wheeling around. Come out to the races. You'll see him, and just yell at him, and he'll stop and talk to you. Thanks, Daryl.
Thank you. Sorry it wasn't Don Garlitz, but still DG and damn good.
You're right.
That was fun. Such a special relationship. You can tell that you two still have to this day. I'm sure it's fun to be out there and see all your old friends and bosses.
Oh, without a doubt. And Darrell was, it was great to work for. I mean, we had our ups and downs, don't get me wrong, but we lasted 9 years, so there had to be something there, and we've stayed tight ever since. Always, we always talk all the time. He's kind of, I tell him he's kind of like the brother I never had, so it's a good relationship.
Our broadcast booth here at the top of the tower, right next door to race control. And as you see the tractors go down, I'm thinking this is going to be one last time. They just opened that door and gave us the thumbs up, meaning we are ready to get going here to complete this third session of qualifying for Top Fuel Dragster. Again, the next pair that will be at the line will be Doug Foley, currently below that bump spot, sitting in the 9th position. Alongside him will be Sean Reed, who last night in the big round that we've had so far, he was shut off at the line. He was very frustrated. The reason being was the oil. They didn't have any oil pressure, and so they had to shut him off, couldn't send him down the racetrack. He was able to go out this morning and put in a representative time, bump himself into the field, up into that number 5 spot.
Yeah, that was a nice run this morning by Sean. That 372.3 put him in the number 5 position. Tony Stewart on the bump. That bump spot is a 373.8. That's the number that Doug Foley is going to try to beat to get into the field, at least for now, with one more session left, plus these 2 pair to finish off this one.
Left-hand lane. See there, the teams are ready. They've been waiting. Drivers, I'm sure, probably got out of the car with that cleanup from Antron Brown. If you're just now joining us, Antron Brown, Doug Coletta, the last pair that went down the racetrack. Unfortunate incident for Antron. Blew one of those rear tires. He was able to, he crossed the center line, but he was able to stay far enough away from Doug that the incident didn't get any worse. But that cleanup took some time. Let's go ahead and get back down to the starting line. Courtney Anders still down there.
Hey guys, Courtney down here on the starting line. I caught me another one. I'm like fishing in a barrel down here. Jed Coughlin Jr., what we just saw in the Pro Stock category, a lot of guys not getting down that right lane. You went flying down the right lane. You said you needed to do some more adjustments, but what was that like out there and how'd you adjust?
You know, the crew chiefs just dialed it back a little bit, took a little power away from it, and you know, there's a lot of things we can do, move weight, wheelie bars, front strut travel, and probably just need a little bit more, quite frankly. But we made it down. We got some good data. We're going to need to make some adjustments for tomorrow for game day on Saturday because it's you know, likely going to be warm midday. So we're getting ready to fire up some top fuelers, which is exciting. Glad Antron and everybody's all right after that last episode. But you know, thanks to all the fans for coming out. We've had one heck of a show these first 2 days, and we're just getting started.
Thanks, Jack.
Has been a great show the last couple of days. Tomorrow going to be even better. You look at the conditions right now, and as this session has taken a little while to get through, given some of the cleanup and some of the things that have unfolded, Mike, that sun has been setting lower and lower. These last 2 pair, they've got a pretty good racetrack in front of them.
Without a doubt, it's a lot better than it was an hour ago, I can tell you that.
Taking a look, Sean Reed.
And left-hand lane, Doug Foley, that's the lane he's going to try to get down to run better than that 373.8. I think the conditions are getting there. Doug's capable of doing it. It's not going to be easy. And like we keep saying, you still have another shot at it. So it's not the end of the world. So if I would, like I said, I would try to push it a little bit. I would push it on the edge of not making it a little more so now, knowing that I have that other shot, knowing and I think that the track conditions are not all that bad. Like I said, I still think it's a high 360, you know, 70 flat would be a good run. I think both of these guys would love to do that, and obviously that would help out Doug quite a bit, get him definitely right in the show.
And that'd be a good run for either one of them, but this is their shot at it right now as you look into the cockpit of Sean Reed, the frustration that he felt last night, able to put that behind him. And here's Doug Foley, his guys cleaning up those tires after the burnout and the back up. Team steps away, and it's going to come down to the drivers.
Yeah, Doug Foley's crew chief, Doug Cook, he worked for me when I drove for Darrell, so we got that relationship going there too.
course, continues all the way down the track at 374. But problems for Doug Foley, still sitting on the outside looking in.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like Doug had a pretty good run going till something just gave out on the car. John, you know, goes down the track, 374, another nice pass. I don't think they're going to complain about that, 329 miles per hour, but Doug Foley's got one more shot to get in. Tony Stewart is safe for now.
These two cars get off the far end of the racetrack. We go back to the starting line. This will be our final pair of Top Fuel dragsters for this third session of qualifying. See the car of Josh Hart in the left-hand lane. His crew chief, Ron Douglas, joined this season by Jason McCullough. They've had some promising runs here this weekend. They've also had some that they would probably rather forget, but coming into this weekend, it was a whole bunch of testing time, and fortunately able to figure some things out, put some of that behind them as they now get ready to try and improve before eliminations tomorrow.
Take a look at Justin Ashley. He's going to go up there and try to see if he can step up on that, on his best time of a 370. But like I said, it's possible. Justin's team, they got after a little bit hard last night and smoked the tires about 200-300 feet out, but then came back this morning and made a good pass in probably similar conditions. And like I said, they ran that 370 with a 5. So if they could do that again, I think they'd feel really good about the information that they would have. And then, like I said, like everybody else, a broken record, they're going to come back and try to stab it in the final session tonight.
See Mike Green there on the right side of the shot, left side of the race car. And for Mike, he certainly is familiar with these changing conditions and having to wait out the session. But for them, you said it, similar conditions, probably about what we had this morning, to the point we made a minute ago, not the case an hour ago. So they know that they can run a 370 now. They have the opportunity to improve that even more, and that would be another solid run that could be potential low ET of the session. For Justin Ashley. Not quite as quick as he went earlier today, but that's a solid A to B pass.
Yeah, I think they'll be happy with that. I mean, I think they were probably trying, like I said, trying to go for that high 60 and maybe just missed it by a little bit. But, you know, Mike Green, he understands how this whole thing works. He'll go back and look at it, and he'll use that data for tomorrow and try to come up with a combination that can win the big money tomorrow night. But before that, he's going to go for the stereo.
We have got another qualifying session still to come. That is the completion of Top Fuel Dragster. Let's go down to the top end with TJ.
Doug Foley, the early numbers on that run looked pretty good. It was right with Sean Reed. Then what happened? You got one more shot.
Yeah, you know, it's been a while since we've been out of the field and working our way in. You know, these 8-car fields are tough when you got literally the best teams in the world here. So, you know, we appreciate United Garage Door for coming here and helping us out. But, yeah, we struggled a little bit. That right lane top end a little bit. Seems like it's spinning the tire a little bit and kind of throwing me off a little bit. But I've got the utmost confidence these guys. You know, we'll get it together. And, I mean, you're going to have to run minimum probably 71 tonight to get it in the field. So I promise we'll give it our best. And if it doesn't work out, then we'll see you guys in Gainesville. But we'll try.
Just got to keep ticking away at it, but it's a great point, right? That's why this event is so cool. The best teams in the world. Only 8 cars are going to get to go for that big money and the bragging rights that are on the line tomorrow in eliminations. But one more session of qualifying still to come this evening for the 3 pro categories. The fans that are here on the property, they're going to get a show tonight. Take a look at how everybody in Top Fuel stacks up after 3 sessions. Doug Coletta continuing to lead with that 365.
Brittany Forse's in that number 2 position. You go on down to Tony Stewart, as we mentioned, on the bump with that 373.8. Antron Brown right there with the same elapsed time, but the faster speed puts him the position higher in that number 7 spot. So the conditions, as you mentioned, are going to be good. This could all shake out this evening, but I think you're going to want to stay around and watch it. I don't think you're going to want to miss it.
No, it's going to be fun. You saw right in the middle of the pack, Justin Ashley, the best run of the day so far in Top Fuel. Right now he's at the top end with TJ.
Justin Ashley, 371, low ET of the round. What's coming up next?
Whew, we're going to have to see. I definitely think this is going to be a go-for-it type of session right here coming up. And look, we had a little bit of a benefit of the doubt because of the way the sun went down. And first and foremost, I'm glad Antron's okay. Anytime you see something like that happen, it's kind of scary. But great job to Mike, Tommy, and our whole Skag Power Equipment team. Thanks to everybody at Skag for putting this amazing, amazing event on, all the dealers and distributors that are with us. And how about these fans? This place has been packed all day long, so we love you guys.
See the sun going down. We've talked about it all day, Mike. We've been teeing up as we get ready for the fourth and final session of qualifying. It's the go for it. It's the money round. It's where you see how good you can actually be. Now the sun is setting below the grandstands. What does it mean?
Fasten them belts a little bit tighter and get ready to hang on, because it's going to set you back in the seat, or it's going to blow the tires off and your head's going to hit the steering wheel.
Can't wait to see how it's all going to unfold. For the time being, though, the team's back in the pit area. They're getting ready, getting the cars ready. Fans of all ages out here this weekend are going to get a show later on tonight. We're going to step away, take a break, but we'll be back with more after this.
Runs tomorrow, as I am once again joined in the booth by Randy